Hello everybody and welcome back to another Punishing Grey Raven video. Let's jump back into it. I definitely have not recorded this video 2 times before this. As you're aware, if you've been grinding out the Her Last Vow patch in Punishing Grey Raven, then you are either very close to, or maybe you have just unlocked your S-rank selector that is available in this patch, which is really exciting because if you've watched my previous video on if you should roll for old S-rank units, the best way to get those units are these selectors, as we get one now, another one in a couple patches from now, and then another one in a couple patches after that. And so I wanted to give my 2 cents on each of the characters that are in this and who I think actually is worth taking out of the first S-rank selector that you're going to get. If you've been following my content, you will have seen this screenshot previously, and this was created originally from the lovely people over at Grey Raven Radio, where they have this great overlaid screenshot for what units are available in this and the next S-rank selector. Both of those selectors do have the same roster of characters, so you don't need to be worried about, if you pick one character in this one and they're not available in the next one. Don't worry about that. That's not a thing. Every S-rank selector from here on out is this set for the next 2, and then the one after that is the same set and then a few more characters as well. I believe the next one goes all the way up to Selena Capriccio, so that also includes Live Imperia. If you've done your initial S-rank selector before that you get for creating your account, then you will recognize all 5 of these characters on this top row because it's the same 5 characters that you can get from that set. So there's a good chance, if you've used it, well, a guaranteed chance, that you already have 1 or maybe even 2 of the characters on this initial top row. To be honest, and I'm going to make this one short and sweet because I don't want to drag this video out forever. The 3 middle units here, Lee Entropy, Karenina Ember, and Nanami Pulse, I would argue basically don't even bother. Again, with my caveat that I throw in any video where I'm talking about picking a unit, always pull for the characters that you really like and you think you're going to have a lot of fun playing. That's the only thing that matters ultimately at the end of the day because games are fun. However, if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you care to some degree about the strength of a character or their position in the meta and not simply just waifu material. So that's why we're going to be focusing more on that. But again, caveat as always, pick the characters you like most if that's what matters most to you. That's where I'm going to leave that one. But Lee Entropy, Karenina Ember, and Nanami Pulse are all completely outclassed units. If you have a well-invested Karenina Ember or Nanami Pulse right now, they do still have use for the next little bit. The meta fire team is kind of in its infancy still with this release in that it's almost complete but not quite there. With Live Imperia, Mech Nanami, and either a Karenina Ember, Nanami Pulse, or even a Lee Palefire, you can have a completed fire meta team at this point. Personally, I'm just running with Lee Palefire because he's an A-rank unit that's easy to invest into that I already have, so I'm not going to bother personally picking Karenina Ember or Nanami Pulse in this case. Lee Entropy, he's a fine unit, but the damage isn't really there compared to some of the units coming that he gets, completely taken off the table. Live Luminance and Kamui Tenebrion are arguably of that top row of characters the only 2 that are maybe worth picking, but they've got some caveats along with them. Kamui Tenebrion is currently the meta dark tank, but while he is currently the meta unit, he's not the only unit. So number 21, as we've talked about in a previous video, can also be used as the dark tank for a meta dark team. A heavily invested number 21 can perform almost just as well as a Kamui Tenebrion, who's just an S rank, which is the only thing that you would have if you just pulled him out of the box with this selector. So his value can really vary there. The other unit is Live Luminance, who right now, as far as the CN servers are concerned, she's not that great until her Ascension, which comes later. In the New Divide patch, her Ascension does give an increase to her heals, as well it gives increased physical damage, as you can see here. So she is still part of the physical meta team, but until that Ascension kind of comes into play, she's pretty mid. But she is still used on the physical meta team, and because she's just a physical unit, she can be substituted on a couple other teams as well. So actually, of that original set, I would say Live Luminance of that top row set definitely still holds the most value. So again, just to summarize this top row, basically, sorry to say it, don't even bother with the middle 3. Kamui Tenebrion's a maybe if you want to get the Dark Tank if you don't have him or a number 21, but Live Luminance is probably your best bet there. So if you're holding on to that original S-Rank Selector, I would suggest Live Luminance for that. Which then leaves us with the bottom row of characters for this S-Rank Selector. And here's the thing, all of these units, I have tried all of them before, I've played all of them before, all of them are fun units in their own way, and all of them are unique roles to teams that are relevant to them. None of them have any direct overlap with the other. The only two that are the closest would be Rosetta and Alpha, seeing as they're both included on the physical team, Rosetta as the physical tank and Alpha currently as the physical meta DPS. But other than that, Bianca Veritas is at lightning, Lucia Plume is ice, and Luna Laurel is dark. So there's not really any crossover between them, except pretty much all of them are DPS units. So that's why it can be tricky to choose. As of right now, 2 of these units have been definitively power crept, and the other 3 are expected to be power crept soon. First off, we've got Alpha. Alpha has been power crept by a unit that comes in 4 patches from now. That's really not that far away. She gets power crept by a unit called Bianca Obstigma. Bianca Obstigma is an absolutely unreal, flashy, and fun unit. I've got another video where I cover meta-changing units that are coming in the future where we look at a little bit of her gameplay. I will also throw that in the description of this video. Alpha's a fun unit, and recently on CN she also did get an Ascension, which gives some new adjustments to her kit. However, even with that change, she does not come ahead of Bianca Obstigma. She's not by any means a bad unit, but she doesn't have any of the time stop buffs, and doesn't seem like she's going to be getting that in the future, and so really, she's not very future-proof. Bianca Veritas, great lightning DPS unit, my current lightning DPS unit. However, also been power crept by another unit called Lucia Crimson Weave. And if you haven't seen her gameplay, what are you doing with your life? Absolutely unreal looking unit. It's probably the unit I am most excited for at this stage. She is so sick. Look up some gameplay footage from Blanc. He's got some insane no-hit runs. He's got this crazy video where he fights the twins. It's just a great time. However, Bianca Veritas does get power crept. Still a solid lightning DPS unit, but is by no means the meta unit now with the inclusion of Lucia Crimson Weave. Those 2 are the 2 that have been definitively power crept at this point. So there's just the caveats on those 2. The last 3 have not yet been power crept, but the CN community has had a lot of speculation that they will be soon because they are older units. Lucia Plume currently is still part of the meta ice team, so as of right now, even on the CN side, she's still a very safe investment. She's a really fun unit to play. She does some great ice damage, so if you need to get that on your war zone or in your pain cage, she's a great unit for that. Rosetta Rigger is the physical meta team tank and is still that to this day on the CN servers. She has not yet been power crept, and she's a really fun unit to play, so I would say also is a totally reasonable choice in this case. Luna Laurel is still the meta dark DPS unit, so also a great unit to pick. She's also really fun. She's fairly, I'll say, easy to play. Her kit is very new player friendly, so I would also still say a very reasonable pick in this case. If you're looking for investment safe units, I personally, and I'm gonna really upset people on my Discord for this one, would skip Alpha and Bianca Veritas in this case, just because they have already been definitively power crept. I can't in good conscience recommend that you get them with your S-Rank Selector when there's 3 more units sitting here that could give you way more value long term, or in much longer than the other units are going to give you in this case. Who to pick between these 3, I think very much depends on your account. So this is going to get very account specific in this case. I think it's really important to, in Punishing Grey Raven, I've heard other people talk about this as well, is to really focus in on one meta team at a time. So you can have like a couple really solid teams, at least at the gate for some of the early clearing in the challenges. Whereas if you spread yourself a little bit too thin, you can't really push some of the content in the same way. Like if you've already got like Live Luminance from the first S-Rank Selector, and maybe you're lucky enough to already have Alpha, Rosetta for me would be an easy pick in that case. I personally would do that, and then you would have a completed meta physical DPS team for a few patches at least until Bianca Obstigma comes out. Same thing with Lucia Plume. If you've got a Chrome Glory, as well as, I'm blanking on his name, he's the other like ice gun unit. If you're sitting on both of those units, you could get Lucia Plume, and that would complete your ice team, which would be a great choice there as well. And the same thing goes for Luna Laurel. If you're rocking a Selena Capriccio at this point, or you're still rocking of your Rosen like me because she's lit, as well as either Kamui, Tenebrion, or a number 21 that you already have available, Luna Laurel is also an easy pick in that case to complete your dark meta team. All three of them, as I said, would be totally viable choices. Of the three, I fall between Lucia Plume and Luna Laurel because they're DPS units, which are a little more key than Rosetta Rigger, as she's a tank unit, which is like still helpful. But if you're talking about like who's going to be your heavy carries on the other teams, you're looking at Lucia Plume and Luna Laurel in this case. So personally, on this S rank selector, I would flip-flop between those two units for a long-term investment sake and for including them on your meta team. But that's just me. Ultimately, at the end of this, as always, it's up to you. You know, pick whoever you want to pick. Duplicate units are definitely useful in this game for getting like an S rank unit up to like triple S or triple S plus, for example, can be really huge on a lot of units. I personally value variety over necessarily getting the highest scores in Pain Cage or Warzone. So personally, I would focus on picking a new unit as opposed to a duplicate unit, but that's a personal preference. That's not necessarily a meta recommendation there. At the end of the day, all of the units on this bottom row are good units. Like, even though Alpha and Bianca Veritas have both been power crept in this case, they're both great units still. So there's not anything wrong with choosing them. This isn't about playing the game wrong or choosing wrong. This is just simply about kind of numbers at this point. I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in there for you guys, maybe help making your decision process a little bit easier, just giving you a little bit more information about who's a little more future-proof versus the others. And if it all goes horribly wrong, just re-roll. I'm kidding. Don't do that. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate that. If you found the information interesting, let me know in the comments down below. And if you disagree with me, put that in the comments down below. I would love to hear some of your input on the units that are available in this S rank selector. As you know, again, it can be very account subjective based on the characters that you have. But that's going to be it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.